Hello, welcome back to another episode over here at the Dana Lee Project. And I am here with my girl Mandy, and she's going to ask me something. What the fuck is she going to ask me this week? I don't know. I'm not prepared.
I just noticed we both have on band t-shirts. Yay! And just so you know, because I like full disclosure, we're doing two videos. So like everyone's gonna be like, guys, are you wearing the same clothes 2 weeks in a row? Because we're both on vacation next week. So we're gonna be like, yeah, we're rocking it out today with Sublime and Blondie.
And I got my pink leggings to match.
Oh, cute. I don't have anything else special on, but all right. So this one is going to be fun. Okay. So last week, and Dana doesn't know that I'm going to talk about this, but last week, Dana and I had not like a disagreement, but just a conversation that we both had to have. And I'm not going to get into the conversation, but it made me think about like how sometimes when we talk to people and we know that they might not agree with us as females, and I mean, I don't want to hear anybody say like, oh, it's hard for men to speak their mind too. I don't fucking care. It's different for women. And just like speaking up for ourselves and talking about ourselves or advocating for ourselves in any way, shape, or form. If it's something in the home where I'm like, I wanted to get the carpets professionally cleaned, and I was like, we're getting the carpets professionally cleaned. And I made sure that happened, and it was a tough conversation to have with my husband because he's cheap as fuck. And then there's like the asking your boss for a raise, or even like asking for a better office in the workplace. It's so tough for women. Now, I wanted to talk about how does this, and I hope that you have lots to say, because I know you will have lots to say. Speaking your mind and speaking your truth, and how this has to do with food and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it does have a lot to do with it. So much to do with it.
Yeah.
Such a great question, Mandy. It's one that most people aren't really asking or making a correlation when they are maybe are aware you use food as a coping mechanism, but coping mechanism for what exactly? Sometimes it's like you don't even know the underlying things you're suppressing and not doing for yourself because it's become autopilot that you stay in your lane and you're being polite and you're being a nice girl and you don't want to disrupt the apple cart and you don't want to upset people. And and I'm a middle child, so I also have a little bit of that of like just making sure like everything gets
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of that, and so it was a lot for me to work through, to realize when I was put in certain situations, like for me, a lot of it started revealing itself when I was dating someone who I have talked about in previous videos. I was dating someone who I fell in love with, and he developed a drug problem over time. That was not how he was or how he behaved when we met, not even for the first year plus after we met. Like it was a while. But what ended up happening, the interesting thing in that relationship, is that it became so important to me to speak my mind and to start to express myself and talk through things and vocalize things in a way that I was never never really had to before. Some things were like maybe didn't feel as much pressure, or there wasn't as much consequence, like it's fine, oh it's fine, oh it's fine. But in this particular relationship, things got so bad sometimes that it really felt like I could witness him destroying himself and his life, and that brought something up in me that I pushed back against him in ways because I cared about him. And what ended up happening is that I realized the more I was doing that, this side effect was I wasn't as interested in food, manipulating food as much. Like it happened over time. This is also a bit of like in retrospect, which I do talk to my clients about. You've heard me
Right.
probably say in mentorship that
Oh, yeah.
think it's gonna like be a certain way when you're in the moment, but most of your breakthroughs and your healing of the relationship with food kind of happens in retrospect. When you're like, huh, I didn't even I didn't even eat the fries, or I wasn't really interested in the ice cream, or it like I had a little bit of that and then I forgot about it and I walked away, or like things like that end up happening. And I realized that the more I was able to vocalize in an effective way, not like
Hmm.
steamrolling, not like just dumping on, I was committed to becoming a more effective communicator so that what I was going to say, whatever I did say, would land. And
Hmm.
and I felt like it was making a difference and he was hearing me in this particular relationship. But I can also say that in other, like, as I was working for gyms and other dynamics that started showing up also, because was put in positions where felt like it was time for me to give my notice to leave that gym because just things were I wasn't in agreement with anymore, and some things were happening in the culture, and I was like, I cannot work here anymore. So then that it started building up my ability to advocate for myself and without making the other person wrong, by the way. You can say
Right.
whatever you want to do. I just don't want to be a part of that. It's not like what I want for my career. It's not how I want to be supported as a fitness instructor, group fitness instructor. There were just certain things that you can do this. I'm just not in agreement with it anymore. So I'm going to step away, which is very different than I think some of the messages are I'll watch like a reel or a TikTok or something about not that I'm on TikTok. TikTok gets reshared. I'm not on TikTok. I want nothing to do with that platform. It's like a
Reels, reels, lots and lots
yeah,
of reels.
reel. But I sometimes will see this like almost like an aggressive kind of attitude about don't take shit from anyone and blah blah blah. And it doesn't really work that way. It's like a inner um inner desire that wells up in when you feel out of alignment and not in agreement, not a willful attitude steamrolling kind of communication. I don't think that type of communication is going to help impact your relationship with food. I think it could end up ultimately feeding it because there's a um it's almost like I'm just going to react and do this thing and stick up for myself because I'm supposed to, as opposed to really feeling your intuition and feeling in your gut. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't really feel right. How do I want to handle this? How can I be thoughtful about what I want to communicate to who I want to communicate it with?
Hmm.
Right? That's the part inside of you that can really start healing a relationship with food because you're healing a relationship with yourself. So
Hmm.
you're just not going to end up going to fix like that hole that you feel in yourself with food because you're healing it legitimately. And so also I love this question because it is not a typical correlation that anyone makes between voicing how you really feel and sticking up for yourself as women, because I do agree with you. Not that there are some men who have a hard time talking, like speaking up, but it's not the same. They're definitely like in general more supported, or they're just not, oh, a bitch,
Right.
an asshole.
Right.
Like
Right.
you can be men, it's a little bit more expected that they're going to be arrogant or like it's just like it's okay. But women, there's different. there's different outcomes, and a lot of women fear being seen that way. So then therefore it just, the feedback loop of it just suppresses that. And I don't know what to do with that suppression. So I'm just going to go eat and try to fix my feelings that way. And it just ends up becoming this big compounding mess.
Yeah. I'm thinking when you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the masculine energy that is just not is not in me. To like I feel like when you're told like, oh, stick up for yourself, just like get in there and say it and everything. It's not natural because it's just not natural for me to do it that way. Where like if that it's like when women first started to be in the workplace, we wore a lot of like masculine like clothes and like the big shoulder pads, and like we were trying to be masculine in a masculine world. And it's like, you know what if we are feminine in a world where we can be both masculine and feminine, and like approach it in a feminine way where it's like, and you know what, if you ask me, I think that the best way for me to approach something is to explain my feelings, explain where I'm coming from, explain this is what I'm thinking. This is why I want X, Y, and Z. Let's say like the carpet downstairs that I really wanted to get done. My husband was like, I can do it. I can rent it. I can get it all done. And I'm like, yeah, but you have a fucking full-time job. I have a full-time job. We all have full-time lives. And there's a service out there that we can pay someone to do it for us. And I was like, it's going to cost this much. It'll be while you're at work on Monday. It'll be, and we can get it done. Yes, it's going to cost us money, but it'll also get rid of all of the puppy stains, like all the things that I would say instead of going and going, no, it's getting done. I want it done. That's it. Because for me, that's not authentic. That's not like, that's not, I can't just go, well, you'll get over it. You'll be fine. And I'm just going to get it done. And you'll come home on Monday and it'll be done. Where I know a lot of people who are like that. I've heard from a lot of women who are like, oh, I'm just going to get it done. I'm not going to talk to my husband about it. And I'm like, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I wouldn't be able to sleep the night before the people came to do that. Because I'd be like, bulldozing. That's not natural for me. I want, even if he disagrees with me, like, Mandy, this is a waste of money. I could do it myself. At least he understands why I want it done. And it can be tough for us to come at things that way. You know what I mean? Because it, like you said, it's told to us, just do what you want. Just get it done. Just do what you want. Don't worry about men and don't worry about what they're going to say or do because they don't care. And you know what? But that's not me. That's not how I could approach. That's not how I feel good approaching things.
Or the partnership that we want, because we're fortunate to be sitting here where we both have very healthy marriages, right? So I would, same. I wouldn't, if I wanted to have the carpet shampooed. Steve is also very much a do it yourself kind of guy,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Very much.
Uh-huh.
However, I'm with you on this. And I think more women need to hear this too, of like having a conversation with your spouse, your partner, the conversation.
Or your friends or your business partners.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation, because, and it's not to convince them, it's the, in a way to help them understand where you're coming from and maybe lay out a few options. Okay, we could do it this way, we could do it this way, we could do it this way. Here's the problem if I see it done this way. Here's an issue if I see it done this way. And there's the issue if I see it done this way. But let's figure out how do we do this, make this decision together so it's as much of a win-win as possible. And that requires maturity. It
Mm-hmm.
requires, instead of being like, oh, I'm just going to do this and I'm not even going to tell him. There's a certain, but I actually would wonder how often that's happening in other areas of your life and
Yeah.
what other issues is it causing in other areas of your life that you may not even be aware of and how it's affecting a friendship or something. You're like, because, oh, that's just the way she is. But doesn't mean that everyone enjoys that or it's a good time for everyone, you know? So it's just the awareness factor, the self awareness factor,
Mhm.
and the maturity level that that takes.
Right. Yeah. It would cause a lack of trust. Like, um, if say you said, Mandy, I've decided you're not going to do X, Y, and Z anymore. I'd be like, you know what I mean? And then I'd be like, okay, well then, right at the end of that sentence, right there, boom, I don't trust you
Yeah.
because Dana came at me and said, and like, okay, so then like I mean, I can't even think of what a good example, but I'm thinking like in any boss situation or partnership situation where someone was be like, I want to take these responsibilities away from you and not explain to you why or whatever, and then be like, well, now I'm really feeling like I'm on unsteady waters. And like the same with like my husband, if or anything like any kind of relationship. If I just say, this is what's going to happen, and he doesn't, there's super unsteady waters, no trust there, you know? So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And to that point, you got to think about the reciprocal scenario. No
Mhm.
wonder why there wouldn't be trust because imagine it flipped around and imagine your spouse is just doing the thing and telling you that feels awful.
Yeah,
So if it feels awful in the receiving end, don't do it in the giving end.
yeah, yeah,
Especially if, like, well, he does that all the time anyway. Okay, and how often? Stomp your feet and pow and do what you need to do, and then put your big girl panties on. And if you want to change the dynamic in the relationship, it is up to you.
yeah. Your face expression.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to hear that. Why does it have to be me? Well, do you
Yeah,
have a healthy relationship or don't you?
yeah.
Take the fucking lead for
Mm-hmm.
your life in your
Yeah,
relationship,
yeah. In any relationship.
any relationship.
Because in order to have good friends, you have to be a good friend.
Yes. In order to have a good job, you have to be, how are you showing up in that job?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There we
Good,
go.
good
All right.
conversation.
Good question. Really good question. And definitely we'd love to hear from you guys. And are you making a correlation between advocating for yourself, using your voice? You know, it might be an interesting experiment to do is just like for one day, forget the food journal, document how often you keep your mouth shut. That might be interesting. You don't even have to write exactly what it is. I mean, it could be helpful, I think, of like writing down like what you really wanted to say. Write down what you really wanted to say. Write down what you really wanted to say. But even if you just took like a little like one, two, three, four, five, like a little
Uh-huh.
little score marks, just for an awareness factor.
Yeah.
So you can help draw your own correlation with how often you keep your mouth shut and you suppress how you're really feeling and what you really want to say and what your thoughts are. And then let's just see the emotional eating issues. Do
Lashing out out of
Yep.
nowhere
Yeah.
after
Exactly.
slice number 10. That's
Yeah. Uh-huh.
the 10th time I haven't said anything. Now I'm going to kill people. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah. See what you discover about yourself. Could be very eye-opening.
yeah, sure will. Sure
Yep.
will.
That was a good one.
Okay.
That was a juicy one.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we'll see you next week with the next one with the same t-shirts on.
Yes, we will. Bye, guys.